I'm continuing my discussion on what I felt was the weirdest part of the most recent Sister Wives episode, which is Kody's discussion with Robin. And I already did a video about the whole, like, oh, it's so nice to go on a date. And you're like, what? I'm going to also do a video specifically about Brianna and Aurora and all that. But I want to talk about sort of the middle section where he is talking about his issues with his faith. Because I had said several episodes ago that I thought it was really weird that they were discussing moving to a different religion or leaving their faith, but we had no discussion about their faith because the first several seasons were very heavy about their faith, what their faith required of them, what they were doing. They presented themselves to us and to the world as being very devout. And oftentimes they use language of superiority. They don't want their kids mingling with kids who had different ideals. They're more moral is something that they often said, which bothered me because I don't think I need to explain. But what was interesting was he starts to set up in this episode that he has a lot of issues with the AUB, which is not a surprise. But he trots out this line, which is that the church at one point was trying to put him in a kind of teaching leadership position. And they saw my hair as rebellious. And he starts talking in a lot of detail about how the church wanted him to cut his hair, which is so funny because, first of all, everyone wants you to cut your hair. Like, everyone thinks. And I mean, even people who hate to admit it are like, dude, if you were bald, if you went the bald look, you'd look significantly better. You actually wouldn't look bad anyway. But the church wanted him to cut his hair. What I thought was really interesting about that is because the first slide said they wanted to put him in a leadership position, that had to be before the show. At the very least, it was the first season of the show because they have not lived near a church of theirs since the second season when they moved. So he's talking about things that were like 10 to 14, 15 years ago. So it's very interesting to me that he starts bringing it out now. And it kind of reminds me of, follow me here, I'm going to get there eventually, the way that he says that he never loved Mary. He never loved Christine. He never was in love with Janelle. All of that language. Now he's doing the same thing with his faith. He told us for seasons and seasons and seasons that it was the biggest part of his life, that he just wanted his kids to have faith, that it was this guiding principle. And now he's jumping back from before the show was filmed and saying he's had a problem actually with his faith for years. Do you notice a pattern? Like, that's kind of wild that we now see him saying this about something else, where he is now saying, I've actually had this problem for a really long time, because he's now bringing up that they wanted him to cut his hair probably 15 years earlier. So that is really interesting. It's also based on, we know that he's had a problem with his church for a while because many times this season he's talked about not wanting to be accountable to them, not wanting them to say things to him, not to, he was really deeply offended that they gave Mary a spiritual release, and that I don't know if they told him, but they told Mary that if Christine or Janelle wanted them, just call on up. They've already got one ready for them. Like, they have no problem. And he started really complaining about how he didn't think that, he blamed the fact that he couldn't leave Mary on the church. So it's interesting to me. I see him leaving the church being less about genuine religious arguments and more about this movement of he doesn't want anyone to ever hold him accountable for anything. And I'm not here to say you have to be part of a organized religion in order to be a moral person. Please do not take that. I'm saying that him specifically, I think he's moving away from the AUB because people either in the past or currently are in some way holding him accountable, that he is not walking the talk that he has talked for many, many, many years, like 14 years at this point. We have it on film that he has broken the covenant that he said was most important to him. And so he's like, I'm going to start over someplace new. I think it's going to be really interesting. I do not enjoy this, but I have so much to say about what he said in this episode. So I have more videos coming up.